we've got two eyes, two ways to view things. Is Sundowns, yes, it's doing well, it's putting Africa on the map.
Yeah.
But somewhere, somehow, it's destroying South African football. It's destroying Ibafana Bafana.
Okay.
You just said now, most teams are trying to emulate what Sundowns is doing.
And they are not winning.
They're not. We know why they're not winning.
Yeah.
Do you know who's mastering that playing the football on the ground? It's players. It's these international players. Currently, right now, best central midfield is who?
It's not that South Africa doesn't have exceptional players. We do. But the only problem is that those players want to tell coaches how to play football. And now I must listen to you when I'm the coach. I'm supposed to tell you how to do your job.
Yeah.
You're telling me how to do my job.
Hello and welcome to the weDiski Preview Show. My name is yours truly, Mr. E. I would like to thank you very much for tuning into this week's episode. Today, I've got two special guests. Maybe they would like to introduce themselves. Let's start on my right-hand side. Sawubona.
I thought you were gonna start on your left. Start on your left, man.
I wanted to start on
your left. Start on your left.
Okay, not a problem. Let me start off with the gentleman on the left-hand side. Would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers?
Well, my name is Mo and I'm back again to come give you proper insights and analysis of what's happening with South African football. Obviously, this conversation is to talk about our beautiful game while we're still on an international break. So expect a lot of fireworks, expect a lot of facts, expect a lot of screaming, and expect a lot of entertainment quality content.
Yes, that's more for you. I like it when he says he's back again, and surely he's here. And on my right, I have the one and only resident sports analyst.
And that's me, of course. Uthisha weDiski. Thanks for that, Mo. You mentioned a lot. I agree with you. Whatever you said, I agree with you. Facts. We'll bring you facts. Entertainment.
You're basically saying his intro.
Yeah, his intro. Times two. Times two. I won't reference the name. I won't copy the name. Still Uthisha weDiski.
Yes, it's very, very pleasant scenes here in the studio as I have these two special guests with me. Today, we'll be taking a look at the DStv Premiership, how it's standing right now. I know Mamelodi Sundowns is sitting right at the top there. We're going to be talking about the top four teams as well. And we're going to be talking about the relegation battle that features the likes of Cape Town Spurs. Will Ernest Middendorp save Cape Town Spurs? Let's see what our special guests have to say. You are still watching the weDiski Preview Show, and as promised, we're going to take a look at the DStv Premiership. Let's start off with the big team from Pretoria, Mamelodi Sundowns, currently sitting at the top of that league table with 46 points. Is it 46 points? Yes, 46 points. They are being trailed by one Soweto giant, which is Orlando Pirates, currently sitting at 33 points more. A massive 18 points difference.
I just want to know why you're saying they're from Pretoria, because they're from Clorco. Isn't that in Tembisa?
Well, Mamelodi is in Pretoria. Mamelodi is in Pretoria.
I'm kidding. Before the people of Mamelodi come and burn me alive. Yeah, but what can we say about Mamelodi Sundowns? I think for South African football, we've always needed a team that could come in and shake up the establishment of South African football. Yeah. And as much as the history of Mamelodi Sundowns has always been very glamorous from a distance, now South Africa is getting a front row seat to what this team can actually do. Yeah. And Pito started the revolution. It's nice to see what promotion from inside can do. Because usually we see when a coach leaves an establishment as big as Mamelodi Sundowns, we expect someone to come from international, whether it's a coach from some European country we've never heard of. But the beautiful thing about this team is that it's a local coach who came into an establishment where there was two other local coaches alongside him, Mangoba Mniti and Steve Kompela, and now he's the main man in the job, and he's maintaining that class that Upito left behind. I mean, at some point, Pito was playing in Al Ahly, playing against people he used to manage, not just players, but
people that he used to
well.
sit on the same bench with.
And it does a lot for South African football. If you think about what Mamelodi Sundowns is doing for us as a country in terms of our football, the president of ICAF is someone who's strongly associated with Mamelodi Sundowns. You look at Mamelodi Sundowns going in and saying, I want to challenge that powerhouse that is North African football in the CAF. So this team is sometimes a team that you don't want to support as a football purist, but you have to because you look at the mission they're on.
Yeah.
And the mission they're on is to put our name as SADC, you know, on the flag, and to say it's not always going to be TP Mazembe, it's not always going to be Al Ahly.
Yeah.
There's got to also be a team from Southern Africa. And that quarrel between Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs, don't get me wrong, it was a great quarrel, but it always felt like it ended in our borders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that class, Lucky Lekhwati, when he went on to go left the second star, that conversation really sparked a bigger light for South African football fans, because we remember that, hey, there's still the continent, there's still ICAF. And Mamelodi Sundowns, I think their legacy after all is said and done would be that legacy to say they flew South Africa's flag high. But domestically, I personally would love to see them go unbeaten the whole season, just so we can also have an invincible team in South African football, and not just it being a European thing or something that's never happened here. Sorry to Kaizer Chiefs.
And Orlando Pirates as well.
Teacher said the other 14 teams.
The other 14 teams. I know you guys want to talk about stars and so on. It's the other 14 stars and some that have teams and some that have stars. Just weDiski, what is Mamelodi Sundowns doing very well, which is making them have so much success in terms of going about with their business?
Look, we need to give Sundowns their flowers.
Yeah.
We need to give them their flowers. There are a lot of things Sundowns that are doing right. Like Mo said, facts Mo. Except going that star, luckily Uhati didn't pick up no trophy.
Oh, my bad.
Luckily Uhati doesn't have a star. Doesn't have a star.
No, they went there, but they came back with it.
They never came back.
Yeah, they never came back with it. I remember that final because they played in November. It was either on my birthday or the day before my birthday, and then they lost it. I was like, it's a little disappointing. But
I mean, Sundowns, if we're going to talk about Star, which is, you know, the biggest tournament on the African soil, for a long time, from 1995 to when was it, 2016 when Sundowns took it, it's always been Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs. Pirates is the star. Sundowns came up. They got the star.
It became a game changer.
We forget about how they got it. They deserve the star.
Okay.
How they got it.
Now you are saying
forgot
something.
about that.
How did they get it?
But now they got the star.
How did they get it?
Went back. You know, Sundowns. We have to be honest. Sundowns was lucky. Sundowns were knocked out. Of the tournament, and they were recalled. They were recalled.
The way they've dominated South African football, and they are there. They are making a mark on the African continent. Al Ahly knows about Mamelodi Sundowns. So are we sure that they were lucky, or they were lucky on that day, or they're just good in going about?
No. If we look at Sundowns, if we look at how they got the star, luck. We have to mention luck. Chiefs is doing so bad, but you cannot speak about African football without mentioning Chiefs. Even though they're still doing so bad. If you go Google now, say 10 biggest let's say African teams, Chiefs will appear. Chiefs will definitely appear there. But coming back to Sundowns, hence I said at the beginning, with Sundowns we need to give them their flowers. Yes, they're doing something right, which is everything. They're doing right. But now remember, even if you go to Italy, we spoke about Juventus winning the league for like 10 seasons in a row. Inter Milan came, took the league. Napoli came, took the league. With Sundowns, as good as they are, we will have teams that will end their dominance. If you look at Sundowns now, currently, best team in Africa. But if you go to log, last 5 games, you notice within the last 5 games, Sundowns has actually 2 wins and 3 draws.
Is that a sign that maybe the wheels are coming off now?
It's a sign in football. These things happen. You win some, you lose some. There's going to be a time whereby Sundowns starts losing now. Remember Chiefs, how in South African football we're always talking about Chiefs dominating, Chiefs dominating. That era has ended. What Sundowns has done now, correct, is now they're coming in the picture. Now if you talk about African or South African football, it's no more the big salty guys. You have to mention Sundowns, which is a topic for another day, which is the big team.
But
in South Africa, do we say, is Sundowns actually the biggest team?
It's one of the biggest teams. It's one of the biggest teams. But Mo, tell me something. I'm taking a look at the log right now. Orlando Pirates currently sitting at position number 2. It looks like they are the Orlando Pirates is the team that might be able to unseat Mamelodi Sundowns on that position number 1, should things go the way they are going right now at Clorcop.
I think for the Soweto Giants, especially for Orlando Pirates, for the longest time the star was their defense. You know, no matter how they were performing, people would always point at, no, but Pirates has a star, Chiefs doesn't have a star. So now with Mamelodi Sundowns doing what they're doing on the continent, it's kind of put the Giant back in his place to say, listen, if I don't get my act together, I'm going to lose what I've been for so many years. So Orlando Pirates right now is a team reborn. I say it's a team reborn because for the first time in South African football, we're hearing more about youngsters every time Orlando Pirates plays.
Tell me something more before I forget. Previously, Mamelodi Sundowns relied on bringing very expensive players from abroad. But now I think we've seen a change of things at Mamelodi Sundowns, whereby they seem to be grooming these players and bringing them onto the first team. Are we seeing a change from buying or getting players from overseas and then concentrating on the Mamelodi Sundowns reserve or academy?
So first of all, you have to give multi-choice their credit, because if it wasn't for the weDiski challenge, a lot of these youngsters would have disappeared into oblivion, because that's what was happening in South African football, where these guys were 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and they still say youngster coming out from whatever ranks. Now it's forced them to say, guys, we can see these youngsters are doing these things. And Uthisha also raised it with Kaizer Chiefs that your MDC side is brilliant. There's so many stars there. Why are they not graduated to get to the first team? So now it's put a lot of pressure on Mamelodi Sundowns, because like we said, the eyes of world football is on Mamelodi Sundowns. And if you look at the players that have left South African football to go to Europe recent times, most of them have departed from Mamelodi Sundowns. So it's put Sundowns in a position where they also had to shop overseas for talents that they thought they can come and put them into their strategy. But it meant that they now took up the stock of South African players. It was not so long ago we were having conversations about how Peter Shalulile might be going to a European team. And he's not the only one. I mean, after the CAF Africa Cup of Nations, conversations are happening about the Mkwena. Where is he going to go? Does anyone want him? But it's putting them under pressure to say, if there's movement in the club, if there's players leaving, if there's players coming in, it forces that club to make sure that they always have a supply. You understand? Because if you don't have a supply, you're going to rely on Itumeleng Khune for 20 plus years. Because you don't have anyone who's going to come in and put their foot in that shoe. But more importantly, you have nowhere for this guy to go. That's the last example I'd like to make is what happened at United with David De Gea. David De Gea was at United. He was a hero until he became a villain because he was there for too long. And if you look at Itumeleng Khune, the story is the same. He was a hero and he was there so long that somewhere along the lines we started seeing him on Twitter having the time of his life outside of the club. So it's a matter of, if you have a good conveyor belt of talent coming in and going out, then you're able to make space for those coming, which allows youngsters to be able to get the opportunity to play. So it doesn't mean the squad must be injured for players to play. Sometimes it's just a matter of, can you sell these players off? And if it's a yes, then of course you're going to have youngsters coming into the team.
Those are the sentiments of Mo. Do you agree with him? Let's see that on the comment section. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Now let me turn over to Uthisha weDiski. Uthisha weDiski, do you think Orlando Pirates has got the capacity to unseat Mamelodi Sundowns on that position number 1 spot?
Well, let's go back, Mr. E. Let's go back to the point Umo touched about Mamelodi Sundowns. We've got two eyes, two ways to view things. Sundowns, yes, it's doing well. It's putting Africa on the map. But somewhere, somehow, it's destroying South African football. It's destroying Ibafana Bafana.
Okay.
Sundowns, you talk about youngsters. There's this youngster they bring in now, Uban Ulitlako. Sundowns, in a way, you can say they were forced to bring in the guy. Sundowns, we know international players, the rules. You can only have how many players? You cannot have more than 7 players. Sundowns still went overseas to get a player, whereas they had more than the number of players they can have from outside the country. They had to release Ubani, this guy from Ethiopia. Unasi. They had to release him. He done nothing. Unasi, if you go back to Ethiopian league, he was a destroyer. Wonder boy of Ethiopian football. He comes to Sundowns, he didn't play. They killed a team from Ethiopia. Now they go over to buy a guy. They already have enough foreign players. They go to buy a guy. You have to loan out a guy somewhere. If you want to mention Sundowns, those 7 international players, those are the impact players. for Sundowns.
Yeah.
We can name all of them. Abo Sirinho, those are impact players for Sundowns. Ne? So how does Bafana benefit from that? Yes, Bafana did well in the AFCON. They did well in the AFCON because they are likes above Otebumhukwena.
Yeah.
But question is Sundowns willing to release the likes of Otebumhukwena to play overseas?
Well, there were rumors that he was going, but
there's always rumors. Peter Shalulile is supposed to overseas. There's always rumors.
Yeah.
Sundowns won't release those players. Sundowns, they are a brand. They see themselves as a brand as big as Man City, as big as Real Madrid. So it's a simple question: what motivates a player? Imagine.
To Amasadawana out there.
So why go overseas when there's money
in South Africa? I wanted to say to all Amasandawana fans there, do you agree with Uthisha weDiski? Please let me know in the comment section. I think that's rather controversial, but it's fine. He's Uthisha weDiski. He's schooling us about football.
Let's go back to Pirates competing for the league. Can Pirates take the league away from Sundowns?
Because Sundowns
Pirates can never. For as long as Sundowns is doing what they're doing, they'll always fight for it's number 2 going downwards. We're fighting for who's going to be number 2 and who's going to be relegated. Sundowns will always take
the first position.
The league.
Yeah, because they've done it very well.
We can break it down to the reasons why with Sundowns.
Why?
It's doing what they're doing. Our resources.
Okay. In terms of financial muscle.
We can start with that.
Yeah.
I'll say resources. We can start there. You want us to talk about finance? We'll talk about finance. We'll talk about finance if we should speak about finance. Sundowns has more money than all these other teams have. It's Sundowns. We spoke about expenditure. Yes, Sundowns. And I've always asked you, if soccer or football club is a business, a business is to make profit. When and how will Sundowns make their profit?
How are they making their profit?
When and how? Because E-League alone is 20 million. You have Ribeiro alone costing more than 20 million. So where are we going to make profit?
Where's the
and remember,
where is the catch there? Why would somebody who is gunning for a league championship, which is worth, I think it's 15 million, and then you've got your MTN 8 and Nedbank Cup and so on. All the prize money from there is not even enough to buy one player. From or rather to pay for
there is a major question, and that should be a topic on its own, a topic which we should indulge in. Going to the topic, because if you go, remember what Bobby said, he will never buy a player that costs more than a league. What will he benefit from that? So Sundowns has a bigger picture with how they get the money back. But now if you're going to take a team like Golden Arrows, how do you expect Golden Arrows to compete with Mamelodi Sundowns?
Because of lack of resources.
How do you expect Golden Arrows to compete
more?
With Mamelodi Sundowns?
Do you agree with him?
I will say one thing about sports, and I think a lot of people now, we live in a world where people talk about the money in the sport. But Oksalayo, the money in the sport doesn't change the quality of the ball we're using. You understand? When you have to play against Amazulu, you have to play on Amazulu's grass. Whether you use air-conditioned grass in Pretoria, it's not it's not an issue. If a team wants to make it to the PSL, obviously the standards to which you must uphold. But when we play on that pitch, we both put 11 players in there. Never mind the cost of those players. We saw it in the CAF Africa Cup of Nations where Nigeria's squad was worth 300 or something worth millions, and the South Africa squad was worth 20-something million, and then we saw the tough time they got. So a lot of times we focus on the backroom politics of football and not necessarily on the football itself. And that's where the issue has come when it comes to South African coaches and South African coaches getting an opportunity to coach clubs this big. That's why I said to you earlier on that Pito, by giving his staff a chance to run with Sundowns and maintain that quality. If Pito had left and they got in a coach from Africa, it would give us a different light of what the world of football would think about us in terms of our football knowledge. And it's conversations like this where you start to notice that we dive more quickly into making excuses than to actually analyze what's happening on the pitch. Because in South African football, it's seldom that we speak about playing styles. We don't really speak about tactics that much. You know, for some people, it's a 4-4-2, it's a 4-3-3.
That's it.
Where's the innovation in those conversations? You know, where's the conversations about the WM and how the WM changed Pep Guardiola's football? Those conversations are conversations I want to see in South African football more often. Because most of the time, Mamelodi Sundowns will draw against a team from South Africa. Because the money doesn't play the football. The football is played.
And I think they've already done that, I think 4 times.
4 times.
Yeah.
And the money doesn't play the football is played by players.
Yeah.
And that's why when a player plays against Mamelodi Sundowns, I'm motivated to go to Sundowns. You understand?
Yeah.
What is stopping most South African footballers from making it to Sundowns? And why are most South African footballers going through a personality change to go play for Sundowns? Because Temi Kosiloch that is playing for Sundowns today is not the same player I used to read about when he was playing at Pirates.
When was it Pirates?
You understand?
Yeah.
And not when he was coming up at Pirates, after he made his name. Because now all of a sudden he's so compliant. You understand? He's showing up on time.
Yeah.
You understand? He's a different guy.
There's a lot of discipline at Klorkop.
It tells you a different story about what's happening in South African football.
Yeah.
I think Mamelodi Sundowns have created a benchmark. You understand? To say,
most certainly.
all of you are here.
Yeah.
All of you are running this business.
Yeah.
I can spend all the money I spend on players and all these things.
Yeah.
But there's still revenue streams like tickets. There's still revenue streams like shirt sales, you understand, sponsorships. So if the league is 20 million, we know you're getting 50 from somewhere else, which allows you to then accommodate these things. That's why in Europe they ended up with financial fair play. To say that if Liverpool has 1 million supporters and all those supporters buy shirts at R1 each, it's a million.
It's a million, yeah.
So you are saying to them, we know that the league money is whatever you guys are making for participation. But this money you're making outside of this business, which is the football on the pitch, we also have to be mindful of how you're spending it. So if you think about it, Kaizer Chiefs sells a lot of shirts. Orlando Pirates sells a lot of shirts.
Yeah.
It's very hard sometimes to get a TS Galaxy shirt from a big outlet. You understand?
I've never seen one in any of those.
You've never seen one in one of those outlets, which means that team is reliant on the money they make from the league. But it's not the same situation at Klorkop. It's not the same situation at Naturena.
Yeah.
You understand? They make their money from when they sign with Nike. Nike says it will give you a portion of the sales.
Yeah.
That's a different revenue stream that has nothing to do with the football.
side
So
of things.
our conversations should not be about that side of the game.
Yeah.
Because that side of the game is up to the executives. What we're talking about is what's happening on the pitch. And Mamelodi Sundowns at this moment in time, I will say, the first thing they did right in South African football was they mastered playing football on the carpet.
Yeah.
That's the first thing
Brazilians,
that's the first thing they got right against everyone else. They put the ball down.
And I see most of these teams that we have right now, they're trying to emulate them. I think the likes of Kaizer Chiefs, they're trying to do
Exactly.
But you know why you know why they're not winning. You know why they're not winning. You're spot on. Do you know why they're not winning?
Are we talking about Kaizer Chiefs or Pirates?
You just said now. Most teams are trying to emulate what Sundowns is doing.
And they are not winning.
They're not. You know why they're not winning?
Yeah.
Do you know who's mastering that playing the football on the ground? It's players. It's these international players. Currently, right now, best central midfield is who? I'll name you two.
Yeah, name me too.
Tebogo Mokoena, South African. Another Mamelodi Sundowns guy, Allende.
So
How can you compete with Allende? You know how Sundowns got Allende?
Yeah.
Unless we're screaming about resource,
Yeah.
they have scouts. Go Argentina. They have scouts. Go Brazil. They have,
I think
so when you think Golden Arrows has a scout,
Yeah.
do you think Golden Arrows has a scout in Argentina?
They might have scouts maybe.
Come on, resource.
Whoever Golden Arrows is like this guy
Aware come resource. Go and then you speak it. Scream on my facts. Scream on my facts, my face. Scream on my facts. And if you're better, my face, do leave us a comment. Do leave us a comment. Tell me if you're better. You speak about streams of getting a revenue. In Sundowns, Baba, if you wearing a skipper, ungena mahala, a stadium. So they show you they don't need ticket money.
They don't need.
In Sundowns, after taking a trophy, Baba tell us straight, we don't want the money. We just want the trophy.
In the cabinet.
Isn't that a sign? Aren't they telling you straight, we're not doing this for money. We have money. We're not doing it for money.
There's no such thing. So
how?
let me explain.
If football,
Let me try to meet you where you're trying to meet us. If you look at European football and South African football, the biggest discrepancy is attendance in the stadiums. That's the biggest discrepancy. Now,
wrong.
Okay.
Wrong. You look at the capacity of stadiums. Ungaboni igcwele stadium when Man City is playing Manchester United, umtshela nge-capacity of 30,000. And then come and compare FNB 90,000, Baba. So you can't tell me with England. You can't tell me England with the filling stadium whereby they're having a 25,000.
At the same
they're
time,
having 25,000
at the same
capacity.
time, I never said soccer seats.
Yeah. I'll make you an example. That's the same. South African stadiums. we can do this. We can check this. You look at South African stadiums. You look at Moses Mabhida. You look at Cape Town Stadium. You look at FNB Stadium, Soccer City.
Yeah.
Fine. They're way bigger than your Etihad stadiums. So obvious. If South African, if we were more, you should say to me, you know, South Africans should invest in smaller stadiums. Yes, we'll be able to fill those stadiums. But now they're having large stadiums. What's the point? Maybe that's another topic. Which South Africans should invest in small stadiums. If football, a club, is a business. Let's forget many things. It's a business. So when if you're running at a loss, if I'm a team from Ikas, I'm competing in the Sundowns.
Okay,
I'll make a loss. Hence, that's why. You know why? You know why? That's why week in, week out, we're talking about teams buying and selling status. Why are they buying and selling status? Kunzima compete. You go abafana bazimisela ku-NFD. In my case, Manj is currently number 1 in NFD.
Yeah.
If my case were to be promoted to PSL, chances are next season. Back to
it's all about
NFD.
money.
Either they're selling the status or they're going back to NFD. Proof of that is what we spoke about also weeks back. You get a team like Imarumo Gallants that want to compete with the big boys. They want to see with the Sharks. They go there in Africa. Resources. They don't have resources. Guys were arrested there because they couldn't pay the bill of the hotel. Why? Because there are no resources and they're trying to compete in the Sundowns. So now you get players, you're like, Sonkas Lalago PSL. And you hear of a player of Oribero getting paid $1 million a month. And they hola 20,000 a month. Is that motivation for me? My only motivation is what's misel. So that Sundowns can buy me. Hence now more, you just said, with players who want to go there, our Lord want to go there. Hey, big Sundowns. Our fan of style. They have the money. So that's why we all want to go there. So it's Sundowns, as much as they're doing good, but they are killing South African football.
Yes.
Unless we're looking...
I just want to say that it's hard for me to agree that they're killing South African football. Because mainly, if a team is excelling, so what we're then basically saying is that don't excel. Slow down.
Don't be better than
Come to our level.
No. It depends how you excel. Excel, if you spoke about FIFA fair play, if you compare expenditure of Sundowns and you look at expenditure of, let's say, Cape Town Spurs, difference, how many millions are we talking? Difference.
There's a big difference.
Exactly. So that's where by FIFA. Maybe FIFA must come intervene.
But
maybe FIFA must come intervene. Isafa takes out around about 2 million a month to each and every team that's playing in the PSL. That 2 million it's triple A salary.
Okay.
It's Sundowns.
Yeah.
So if askhulume play game man. Askhulume FIFA fair play.
Yeah. Those are interesting insights from both my special guests here. Uthisha weDiski. I say he's fired up today. He's fired up. Now let's quickly take a look at the relegation zone. Uthisha weDiski. You mentioned Cape Town Spurs are struggling. Do you think they'll be able to survive the chop under Ernest Middendorp?
No, before we go there, so Milan, which is Sundowns is taking the league. No one is competing with Sundowns.
I think this season, but
at this point,
I don't think this thing lasts.
I'm not too sure about next time. But Cape Town City, Uthisha weDiski, currently sitting at position number 16 with only 12 points to show for their efforts throughout the season. Up until now, with 10 games to go, do you think they'll be able to survive the chop? Because they're only 2 points shy from of Richards Bay.
Look, if you're going to talk about the Cape Town Spurs, if you asked me a month ago, I would have said without any doubt, would they going back? But the tables have changed. They're doing something right now.
Yeah.
Last five games, Cape Town Spurs, that same Ernest Middendorp, coach of Sundowns, Rulani Mukwena, he said his dream is to be assistant of that guy because he knows the brains of that guy. He's working his magic there now. Cape Town Spurs, last 5 games, they've won 2. They've drawn 2. Okay. Cape Town Spurs has 3 wins.
Okay,
in that wins, Gukwana and the Pirates, they were able to beat a Pirate. Okay. So chances of them surviving, they are there. The way Mr Middendorp is cooking them, they can survive.
Okay, maybe Cape Town Spurs will survive. Those are the sentiments of Uthisha weDiski. Let's quickly take a break. When we come back, we'll carry on with our conversation. It's heating up in the studio currently. You are still watching the Diski Preview Show, and we are still with Mr. E and Mo and Uthisha. Uthisha weDiski. We're having an interesting conversation in the studio. We're talking about the relegation battle that's currently happening in the DSTP Premiership. And Mo, you were telling us about Cape Town Spurs surviving the chop.
Well, obviously, one thing I've always respected Cape Town Spurs and Cape Town City for is that they play their football in a very windy city.
Yeah.
So when they come up inland and they get results,
Yeah.
I always look at them as to say they really dealing. It's if you look at most of how South Africa is based. I mean, you leave Cape Town, which is sea level, and you go all the way up to Pretoria and Limpopo. It's quite. That's why in rugby they call it the high veld. And so if you look at Cape Town City, I mean, if you've ever been to Cape Town and you've seen how windy Cape Town can be and where these guys are practicing, I mean, they have to deal with winds
at
all
any
the
given
time.
of
Then
the
they come
game.
inland, and then the winds are lesser. There's a lot more heat. It's almost like playing in a different territory altogether. So to see them down there, obviously, first of all, you have to talk about having lost Ajax as a backer of the team, having rebranded and found the team, and also what they've been able to do in terms of the little, commotion that's going on internally that we can't see. But they've been able to put together a team that's come and compete in the PSL. Yes, we know how the PSL will go. Teams will sit in the relegation the whole season. 3 weeks to go, Puma. So for me, the biggest teams that are in trouble there is not really Cape Town Spurs, in my opinion. I think the 4 teams above them should be very worried about how close they are to the relegation zone.
Yeah, the other team that maybe I wanted us to take a look at, maybe this one I can put it to Uthisha weDiski, Moroka Swallows, currently at number 14, which is 3 places from the bottom, and 21 points, Uthisha weDiski. Do you think they'll be able to survive this one here? Because there's a lot that's been happening there in terms of player salaries, and some of the players have been let go.
Kokala, Swallows doesn't deserve to be in the PSL.
Uthisha weDiski, God. I don't deserve to be in the DSTP Premiership.
Wasn't Amaswai who bought his status?
Yeah.
So you buy his status, you are moshing reputation in PSL. After buying the status, you are failing to pay your players. And then you find yourself at the bottom like this. So what happens? So if they get relegated again, are they buying another status again?
I think maybe
maybe they could.
But first, about be there because of merit. Be there because of merit. Yabo? If you're there because of buying status, these kind of things are going to happen. This is not new.
I would honestly say, if I had the money to buy status, I'd buy status. Because for me, if that option is there, look, it's one of those conversations like, Baselekas, and we're talking about a Rolls Royce. And the guy will say, I don't like how it looks. I'd never buy that car. You don't have the money to buy that car. If I have the money to buy that car, I'm going to buy that car, as ugly as it is. So, I mean, you look at the conversation about status. I mean, right now in the DSTV Premiership, there was a time where status buying was in fashion. You know what I mean? We got our TTM, we got our what's called Royal AM.
TTM bought Betfred, right?
Yes. And you look at the people who bought these things. Not to say that we have inside stories, but the people who bought these things didn't know how to run football teams. And in their opinion, they looked at that 20 million you see, there's 20 million in run in winnings. They didn't know the operational cost that goes into running a football club. So if you're going in there already and in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, the pocket I need to have needs to cater for player salaries. You're not taking into account buses. You're not taking into account staff. You're not taking into account training grounds. And you find clubs in South Africa that claim to be based, let's say, Free State, but they train here in Sandton. Because the players they're buying are from Sandton. Those players come from Kaizer Chiefs, those players come from Paris, those players come from Etlor Corp. All of these guys are in Sandton. You're saying to this guy, no, this team is from Tsanin in Limpopo. Come, let's go stay in Tsanin for the whole season. He said, my wife is not going to agree to that. I don't mind playing for your club, but I'm not relocating to Tsanin. So a lot of it is a matter of not being able to understand. I mean, if you're going to buy status, and like honestly, you said based on merit. If you're going to buy status, you need to understand that there's a lot of things that come with owning a football club. These are 22 players plus reserve players that have to come and live within the confines of your training grounds. And then you have to take them to matches, which is away games in Africa, away games in South Africa. All of those things accumulate in cost. And on top of that, you have staff internally, you have equipment. Balls we all know that balls don't stay inflated forever.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So all we're saying is, next time, be more informed.
Yeah.
And the problem is with South African football is that it's not really about the most informed people making these decisions. It's about people who think they know the game because they're former players, because they know the game from their side.
Yeah.
That's why if you look at every academy owned by a player, there's one thing that they all have, a matrix suit. But if you ask them, where do you practice, where do you play? They cannot answer that question. You understand? Municipality must give me a ground.
Yeah.
They always say that.
Then they have to give me a ground. Yeah.
So you must look at who is informed and who's making these decisions. When you buy a Swallows, for me Swallows is perfect. It comes with a stadium. You understand? There's a stadium in the community where you can go and then galvanize the community and say to you, and somebody one of my friends he works in the industry. And we always have this conversation. It's like people don't actually investigate ownership of football clubs around the world. You understand? People will say Bayern has won the league 10 times, but do you know who owns Bayern? The people who own Bayern are the people who are filling the seats in the stadium. That's the ownership of Bayern. That's ownership. Yeah. Yes, they have a board, they have all these things, but the ownership belongs to the people. So no matter what happens with that club, the club is owned by the people. Yeah. When Celtic went under, where were the people? They were screaming and complaining, why do they do this to us? Yeah. But are they contributing with the shirt sale? Are they contributing to saying the club is going under? Let's galvanize the community.
Let's see if we can
let's
do
all
something.
chip in and purchase the stick.
They do more. They do more. I'll tell you, that's why when you spoke earlier on about FIFA fair play, ayikho fair play. Ayikho fair play ku PSL. We speak about Mamelodi Sundowns. Beginning of the show, wasn't more the one asking me where is Sundowns from? Mamelodi or Klokop. Klokop says Chizini, Baba. Yeah. Klokop says Chizini. And it's what? It's Mamelodi Sundowns. We go back to Chiefs. The Pefeni. I natural. A weeks back more, as you spoke about Pirates. When you said Pirates, represents the Kasi, the heritage and none. Now that's the team you can talk about. Hearts are still there. Orlando. Hearts are still there. Orlando. As much as Pirates, we can say Pirates can compete in the Sundowns, they can take the league. Pirates will fall short.
Why?
I'm a resource, Baba. Passion and the heritage is there, but some resource are short. That's why, if we say now, if we had to make a poll now, Sundowns versus Pirates, let's say Nedbank Camp, where they can meet. If we look at football-wise, style of play, Pirates is actually above the Sundowns.
In terms of
style of play. This is where much our resources come in.
Yeah.
If more like king size bed, fresh.
Okay.
But now if this boy is sleeping,
okay, so I want to hear this clearly. You are saying Orlando Pirates plays better football than Mamelodi Sundowns.
It's not better. It's not balance.
But
Sundowns will be more recognized. Hence, this thing of which. You know why teams are buying statuses and teams are being promoted and relegated same season and in competition. These boys, it's here's your 2 million, distribute it.
Yeah.
And then Sundowns comes and says, here's $1 billion, distribute it.
Yeah.
Are you telling me with these boys that are getting 2 million will be as motivated as Sundowns? This is where the whole thing starts. They read, the players read in the newspapers. Social media is there. Uban 150,000. That's how now you're getting strikes. Players striking at the teams. Because we're doing the same thing, same industry. It's like let's say Joba says it's a preview show. If a show is doing something similar to what we're doing, but much balance, I equal up via my resource. Don't you think the one that has more resources is gonna do much better? Song is fun game money.
Hey, yeah.
Can I just answer him and then we'll let it go?
Okay. After this one, we'll let it go. Then we just need to wrap it up. I want to wrap up the issue of the bottom three or the relegation zone. There is another one that's coming. I think we'll need to take a look at the top 8. There's a team there that I'm not sure if it's going to be able to make it, but you can. The stage is yours.
Which team is that you're speaking of?
It doesn't have a star, first of all.
Oh. Look, okay, so with Kaizer Chiefs at the moment, so Pirates and Chiefs once did this thing where Pirates went for international players, Chiefs went for international players. Chiefs went the route of European players. We all know Mamelodi Sundowns and Chiefs. Sundowns went the route of South America.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest difference is that both these teams were looking for the same thing when they first went out to outside of South Africa. South African football does not manufacture finishers. The last finisher that South African football gave the world was Benny McCarthy.
Not Slow Poison.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Slow Poison was better.
Who's Slow Poison?
Honestly.
Byron players, man.
Yeah.
Arguably the best.
Unfortunately, his life was cut short.
The role of a finisher is something that we're struggling to find in South African football. And that's why when you talk about resources in other clubs in South African football, you will see that most games end 0-0, they lose 1-0, is because there's no finisher up front. We know how to make a points man. We know how to get someone to stand there, get the ball down and find runners. But when it comes to someone actually specializing with hitting the back of the net, it's something we're struggling with. When we speak about our strikers, we speak about Peter Shalulile in the country. You understand? We speak about Evidence Mahop. You understand? You know, it's a matter of, if you look at the top goal scorers in South Africa, how many goals do you need to get the golden boot in South Africa?
Currently, who's the top goal scorer? I think Ribeiro.
He's non-South African and also only 10 goals. So
yeah, I get all but you get my point. There's that little position we're not manufacturing for. So Kaizer Chiefs right now, you said it a couple of weeks ago when you said Kaizer Chiefs is lacking in this department. And now they can address it with skillful players, they can address it with pacey players, but what they need is someone who's a pure finisher. And that time when they got close to winning the league, Nurkovic was that guy for them. You understand?
Yes.
It was ugly, yes. But Nurkovic still finish. You understand? He wasn't getting the touches and Haaland, I love Haaland for one thing. Haaland reminded football that I don't need to be skillful. I just need to be a finisher. You understand? In 3 touches I need to find the back of the net. That's my job.
That's it.
Job description. You understand? That conversation about salaries, and I'll get back to the top 8. That conversation about salaries, you can't earn as much as your CEO. You understand? You can be on the same floor, you can be in the same building, but you're not going to earn as much as your CEO. You guys don't do the same job. You guys don't have the same CV. You understand? If someone comes back from France and we have to pay to bring him back, there's no way he's going to take a pay cut to come from France to come here. And those are some of the elements we forget, just in the sake of saying, no matter how can I pass umuntu kholi million mina ngikhwala 20,000. The conversation here with Kaizer Chiefs is that if Kaizer Chiefs went through a rebuild, if Kaizer Chiefs did what they used to do back in the day, found a coach they could stand behind, believe in that coach's actions, and have someone build a squad from scratch and say, I don't need this player, I need that player. I don't want this player, I want this player. And someone who also is not listening to the media. Because all of us have opinions, but does not necessarily mean that you must take our opinions to your training ground.
While on that vein more, I think one conversation that has always been on people's mouths was that Kaizer Chiefs, the problem with Kaizer Chiefs is that they go on to look for players before they get the actual coach that they need. So when the coach comes into the club, he's got people that he knows he's not going to be able to use, or they don't feel this style of play. So what does he do now? He tries to be creative or innovative, try and do it, but it doesn't work most of the time, as we have seen.
You have a problem when even your own legends don't want to coach your team. If your own legends don't want to coach your team, then you have yourself a problem. Which tells you that this problem that, like I'm saying, is going deeper. Because how am I playing players I don't want? Am I not the coach? Am I not that guy? And the thing is, Jose Mourinho put it well in an interview I watched recently from him, and he said, you can't come in and change the stuff. You have to come in and clean house. You have to come in and you see, okay, this guy will work, this guy will work, this guy will work, these guys won't work. But while you have those guys, these guys have to work for you. You understand what I'm saying? Every time Jose Mourinho arrived, he never came in and sold and then bought. He said, look, I don't like 1, 2, 3, 4 bad apples. I'll let them go. But these guys here are the guys I'll build with. And that's the one thing. Kaizer Chiefs doesn't have bad players. Those guys are quality. For them to be playing at the PSL, for them to be playing for Kaizer Chiefs, one of the biggest clubs in South Africa, they have something. They just need someone who can come in and say, guys, you guys don't have a striker. And I need to get a striker. But this season, this is my striker. So I have to motivate and stand behind this guy.
But more, Kaizer Chiefs, talking about Kaizer Chiefs, they've been trying to get strikers. They tried with, who's that guy who scored a hat-trick? Bimenyama, they've tried him. Right now there's Jason, but still,
So
Is it a scouting issue? What is it exactly?
the key to having a striker, and we talked about carpet football. The reason why most football brains will say play it on the carpet. If you can plan out how you're gonna get the ball into the box, you can rely on your striker to finish it.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A good striker knows his players around him. He knows Uthisha is going to go down the wing, Ashayama 1-2, and he's going to pull it back.
Yeah.
If you've played football, you know that there's certain things you're going to do on the ball that are instinct because you're running out of pitch.
Out of space,
I'm going to throw it back.
Yeah.
So if you're going to throw it back, I know you're not thinking. I have to think for you. I'm going to say, okay, he's going there. You know, a center forward is going to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're forcing the center forward to be part of the build-up play, if you're putting your center forward in a position where he's 10 meters away from the box, but he must put the ball down and work his way into the box, then you're taking the strength away from your number 9. If you look at Erling Haaland, Man City's job is to get that ball as far as possible into the box. Once it's in the box, all they need to do is throw it in there and they trust Haaland to read their movements.
Yeah.
You understand? So you can't have that relationship as a center forward if you don't have a team that brings the ball to you. So basically, as we put it, ekasi, service.
Yeah.
I'm gonna service.
Yeah.
And that's what killed Kaizer Chiefs that season when they were leading by 15 and they lost it.
Yeah.
Because Uchunya came out to say, and I'll quote him, he said, they don't have a system to deliver the ball to Nurkovic. Nurkovic has to fight to put the ball down, find a runner in whoever's coming, Castro or whatever, and then have to work his way back in the box and receive back that ball. So the issue there is that, look, it's ugly what Man City do, for example, right? It's beautiful to many who basically appreciate what organized football looks like. But if you look at how they build up the ball, and I always tell people, Pep Guardiola always likes that CDM position because he needs someone there who can link left to right.
Yeah.
You understand? Because when you're building like that, you're building by taking the team right. When they get to the right, you bring the ball back, you take them left. You've gained meters, you bring it back, you go right. You know what sport you play like that? The only sport you play like that is rugby.
It's rugby.
Because you can only pass the ball back.
You
You understand?
yeah.
So in rugby we go, pow, phase, we get the ball, we run it this way. We put the ball down, we go back that way.
Yeah.
If you understand multiple sports, you'll get what Pep Guardiola is doing. Because then he's running you into the box. And once you're there, that's why you'll never see, especially with Erling Haaland, when he arrived at Manchester City, I was guilty of saying it was not going to work because of how he played at Dortmund. At Dortmund, they needed you to play up so they can play it behind you, and his pace would play. Since this player has arrived at Manchester City, I have not seen more than 70% of his goals coming from him running. So what does that tell you? He has a good delivery system behind him. So that's the most important thing you have to take into account when you factor in this conversation. Chiefs will make it into the top 8, but next season they'll have to think about how they build up play and how they have like their finisher. They might as well come hire me and I'll go finish for them.
Hey, those are interesting thoughts from Umo. I told you that I've got seasoned sports analysts in the house or in the studio. Tisha weDiski. Umo is just said Kaizer Chiefs is going to finish in the top 8. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, most definitely. Chiefs will finish in the top 8. Most definitely. Yeah. And Mo is right. When I Chiefs, you know when things started going wrong for Chiefs, Chiefs failed to replace Orinil.
In the middle of the pack.
Chiefs failed to replace. When Chiefs was still Chiefs, they had Ushabalala and they had Orinil Letulunyana.
Yeah.
Check my pass. Take time.
Yeah.
Google my video while Letulunyana playing for Chiefs. Google Ushabalala when I playing for Chiefs.
Because
those are the assists.
Yeah.
Chiefs currently doesn't have that. Hence, that's why they're lacking.
Because why are you skipping Katsande also?
Katsande was much more defensive, right? Release players.
No, what happened? No, you know what happens with Katsande? Katsande is like umthetho.
Yeah.
Currently, you have to be honest about one thing. When weDiski, you have to have 2 central midfielders. One to hold the ball, one to distribute. So one outshines the other. Aboye, reason why Aboye were able to distribute none.
Yeah.
They had one of the best central midfielders of the Chiefs, and abaninga bakhuluma ngayo.
Yeah.
Tinashe Nongomash.
Yeah, no, that's
How the people don't know him? Why?
That's
He does the dirty word. He does the dirty work. Just like go Barcelona. In Barcelona, when you talk about Barcelona, people go on about Iniesta, no Messi. They forget Xavi.
Yeah.
They forget Busquets.
Because
and those are the guys that are doing the dirty work.
Yeah.
So what Chiefs has done, Chiefs does have the players to do the dirty work. Abomthetho, Abokatsande to mention, they're doing the dirty work. But mind you, distribution. Who's the distributor? Hence, that's why I said things went bad after releasing Ulitsulinyana and not getting a replacement. But now, you Chiefs, they go, you get Umar, you get Umthetho.
But right now,
right
now, if you were to say Lutsulinyana modern day, you'd have to say Allende.
Allende, exactly. That's why Sundowns. That's why Sundowns is doing so well. At the same time, Allende is the one I get known for the passes. Who's doing the dirty work? Who? Umkoen. Umkoen is the one that's doing the
Can I just say that work. If you look at the evolution of football, and I'm talking about 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s towards late 2000s European football, it went from having a destroyer and a creative playmaker playing side by side to that position gelling into one. Right? So for Manchester United, you had a Roy Keane and a Paul Scholes. For Liverpool in the mid-2000s, you had a Steven Gerrard and a Xabi Alonso. At some point, you had a Xabi Alonso and a Mascherano. And then later on, you had, not later on, in that same period, you had a Pirlo and you had a Gattuso. You understand? Destroyer, playmaker. Pirlo's history, he played number 10, they brought him back, he played as a holding midfielder. In modern day football, that has now become expensive because I need 2 number 10s. Sometimes I need an 8 and a 10. So I need someone who can stand in a single pivot. Single pivot. And that's why you have players like Rodri. They destroy, but they're football savvy and they're able to destroy, take the ball and create play. If you look at Endo at Liverpool, Endo's job is basically what Fabinho was doing. Fabinho will destroy, but he also has the eye for the pass.
But you know what makes that work? For that to work, you must have an extraordinary player. An extraordinary player, which teams don't have or can't afford. You speak about Liverpool. For Endo to do so well, you need someone like Mo Salah that will be given a free role. That can do anything. That will come and assist.
Can I be angry here for a second and answer you the way you've answered me? No, we'll get there, but let me answer you the way you've answered me. The problem in South African football, and I'll tell you from development of footballers, is discipline. Discipline. Players don't listen to coaches. That's from development. And that's the difference between a professional footballer, an amateur footballer, and an exceptional footballer. If you look at a James Milner and how long his career went, James Milner done what his coach said he must do. And that's what made him so exceptional. He played, when you look at every phase of his career, he's played centre forward, right wing, left wing, midfield 10, midfield 8, holding midfield, left back, right back. You look at Joe Gomez at Liverpool right now, he's playing, holding, John Stones at Man City, holding, but he's also a centre back. There's a player with discipline is a player who can play the game. Because they can play that game from anywhere. Whatever skills they have in their locker gets edified by the fact that they understand the coach's orders. It's not that South Africa doesn't have exceptional players. We do. But the only problem is that those players want to tell coaches how to play football. And now I must listen to you when I'm the coach. I'm supposed to tell you how to do your job. You're telling me how to do my job. And that's where the issue, the power balance has been lost in South African football. Because we want to say that a player is exceptional, but you don't want to tell the player that he must do his job. That's why Sundowns is forced to go to Europe and forced to go to South America. Because like I'm saying, finishers, just go do this today. Maybe you also should go in your own time and go play football, even if it's indoor. Even if you're not playing, just watch. There's always a player in every team who's a defender. When the game ends, he's a striker. There's always a player in a team. The game starts, he's a striker. When the game ends, he's a defender. Njani, why are you not able to stay in your job and do your job the whole 90 minutes? That's just for me the biggest issue when you mention that these players were exceptional. No, these players, Alonso played for, he played with Xavi and Iniesta when they played in the 2010 World Cup, and he was the holding midfielder. He played for Jose Mourinho and Carlo Ancelotti at Real Madrid, and there he was a holding midfielder. He went to play for Pep. Understand? And at that time, when you played for Rafa Benitez next to Mascherano, his job was not to destroy. His job was to distribute. So this player is listening to what the coaches are saying. South African footballers, just because you have a Porsche, doesn't mean you must tell the coach how you want to play football. And I'm not talking about the big boys. Sometimes the problem is not even in a Sundowns or a Chiefs or a Pirates. The rest of the log. You understand? And yes, those players have their own frustrations. But at the end of the day, one thing must be remembered. It's a discipline issue. It's not a matter of talent.
Okay, those are the sentiments of Mo. He's saying the issue of discipline is a big problem in South African football, and he's also saying that it has to be looked into. I want to take a look at the current table right now. That's the DSTV Premiership as we continue with the conversation of the top 8 teams. On top of, or rather in position number 1, it's still Mamelodi Sundowns. It looks like they're going to finish there on that spot. And Orlando Pirates occupies second position, while SuperSport is at number 3, Stellenbosch number 4, Cape Town City 5, while Sikukune is at number 6. Kaizer Chiefs, Abafana Bokuthula Noxolo, they are currently sitting at position number 7, while Golden Arrows occupy the last spot in that top 8. Tisha weDiski, you wanted to say something, but before we do that, maybe we need to wrap this thing up, rather the show up. Let's take a look at the 3 bottom teams, Tisha weDiski. Morocco Swallows, Richards Bay, Cape Town Spurs. Who is going to be relegated?
Morocco Swallows.
Morocco Swallows is going, despite the fact that they are sitting at position number 14. Yes, Mo, your thoughts please on the bottom 3 teams.
I don't know. I think it's still between Richards Bay and Cape Town Spurs, in my humble opinion.
Okay, yeah. Those are the sentiments of my analysts here. They are saying, Tisha weDiski is saying, Morocco Swallows is a Belisazokala.
You can tell Uthisha is not from Soweto.
Yeah?
You don't need to ask him. You can just tell.
While Umo is saying Richards Bay, the Natal Rich Boys will be between Richards Bay rather and Cape Town Spurs, one of the 2 teams who will be relegated. While top 8, TS Galaxy, Tisha weDiski, do you think they'll be able to crawl up and maybe occupy a space in the top 8?
I doubt, Mr. E. The top 8 you mentioned. That's how the log is going to remain, eh? Chiefs is going to be number 7 again.
Yeah. Okay. Now the biggest conversation is who's going to take the 2nd spot and the 3rd spot, or maybe the 4th spot again. Those are the international, or rather continental football sports, Tisha weDiski.
Look, Umo spoke about discipline, which is very important. Yes, Pirates, they're high flying now, 2nd best team in South Africa. But if you look at teams behind the Pirates, I'll speak of the SuperSport in particular.
Yeah.
I have a feeling SuperSport is going to finish above
Orlando Pirates.
Orlando Pirates.
It's possible. They're currently tied at 33 points.
You see, much pressure.
Okay.
The pressure has become so much with Orlando Pirates that we all speak about Orlando Pirates as the next Sundowns.
Okay. What about Stellenbosch, Tisha weDiski? Where are they going to finish the league table on?
It's in Sundowns to win it.
Yes.
SuperSport number 2.
Yes.
Pirates number 3.
Yeah.
Stellenbosch number 4.
Amabagania, do you agree with Tisha weDiski? Let's see that on the comment section. Don't forget to like and press the subscribe button to this show. It's so interesting. Your thoughts, please, Mo. We're talking about the top 4 teams now. Importantly, who's going to take the 2nd spot?
I think it's going to be Pretoria 1 and 2.
Pretoria 1 and 2.
Yeah, Pretoria 1 and 2. And I think, to be honest with you, there has to be Cape Town 3rd. Yeah, it'll be the Western Cape there. Then I think Soweto will jump in at 4th.
Okay. So when Pirates 4, meaning Pirates 3.
Yeah.
No, so you're saying Orlando Pirates is going to finish at number 4?
We have to be honest. I mean, at this point, SuperSport United they're playing good football.
Yeah.
You know, you can't.
It's a little bit tight at the top there, more because the team that's at position number 4 and the team that's at position number 2, they're only separated by 1 point.
Yeah, separated by 1 point. But I just want to bring you down to a stat that most people don't look.
Yeah.
22 goals scored. I mean, no, not 22 goals scored. It's 23 goals. Yeah, 23 goals scored, 17 conceded. That is the 3rd best defense in the league.
Okay.
So when you look at Orlando Pirates, they have a good, goal difference, but defensively, we know.
Those are the thoughts of my special guest today. I told you that it was going to be a fired up one. I would like to thank you very much for tuning in to this week's episode. That's all we have for you for this week. Signing off is yours truly, Mr. E.